Gabrielle Thomas from the Career Resource, the Alumni Career Services Center at Wharton. They're going to run through a presentation on the resources available to Wharton grads for furthering their career. I think the presentation will last about 40 minutes or so, 20 to 30 minutes, and then we'll have time for Q&A, and we should all be wrapped up in about an hour. So with that, I will turn it over to Cara.
Great. Thank you so much, Doug. I appreciate that. Welcome. My name is Cara Costello, and as mentioned, I oversee the MBA Alumni Career Management Office. It's just such a pleasure to be with you today, see some familiar faces as well. I've been at Wharton for about 20 years. The first part of my career was really dedicated to student career management, so spent a lot of time with MBA students interested in media and entertainment, travel and hospitality, areas of real estate, and really helping them with their career goals during their 2 years at Wharton. About a decade in, we were finding that alumni, as they get to know their career advisor and work well in the 2 years, really wanted to keep in touch with the school as they early career, mid-career, later career, and feel like they had a sounding board. So we petitioned the dean at the time to create a new full-time headcount dedicated to alumni career management. So what the club has invited me here today to do is to talk a bit more about that. So I'm excited to be here. As mentioned, my colleague Gabrielle is on the call, and I was going to have Gabby unmute her line for a minute. She will be running point on the chat function. So we encourage you throughout the course of the presentation, chat in your questions if anything immediate pops up, and Gabby's going to be fielding some of those questions to me. And as Doug mentioned, at the end, we'll also be having an open Q&A session. So Gabby, you want to say a quick hello to the group?
Sure. Hi, thanks, Cara. As she mentioned, I'm also part of the Alumni Career Management team, and we'll be managing the chat this morning or afternoon, depending on where you are. But I sort of wanted to start first to talk about how I can be of service to you after this presentation as well. I conduct complimentary resource overviews of our website and other career-related resources. These sessions take a deeper dive into a lot of the resources that we're going to be going over today, and show you exactly where to find everything. They're typically held over Zoom or Blue Jeans, whichever you prefer, and last about 30 minutes. And they don't count as one of your 2 free advising sessions, which you'll learn more about, because we find that having these resource overviews beforehand and exploring what's available to you allows for a more robust and strategic advising session with our career advisors. And we can go through the details of how to sign up for a resource overview. It's going to be the same way you sign up for a traditional advising session. Happy to share those direct links later in the chat as well. But before we get into the actual presentation, I'd also like to introduce another colleague we have on the line right now, Ms. Christiana Wu. Christiana, I'll pass it to you.
Hey, hi everybody. And I'm director for MBA Alumni Career Services, but also for SSF. So I focus on SSF. And what I mean by that is semester in San Francisco. So I work with our MBA students and alum based here in the San Francisco area. So as you can imagine, and I'm based here right now, I'm actually living in San Francisco. So as you can imagine, my focus areas as far as industries are, technology, startups, VCs. And so, as you think about, maybe needing some help with advising, feel free, and you're focused on those areas, feel free to sign up for a time with me. But yeah, I'll go ahead and pass it. That's pretty much it for me. I'll pass it back on to you, Gabby. Or Cara, actually.
Thanks, Christiana. Okay, great. So we're going to dig in. You get a sense of the team here, a lot of really cross-industry functional expertise. But the goal for today's session is really to dig deep into the career resources that we offer. Thanks to the club and the pre-survey, and when you signed up for this appointment, I know many of you are looking to change organizations, right? And looking whether it's an immediate need of wanting to do that as soon as possible, or some really future visions of wanting to make a change. I know that was a big area of discussion. A few you completely want to change careers that are on the call. So maybe going from what you were doing previously to a whole nother industry or function or region, and we can talk through what's there to help you. Others may be intrigued hearing Wharton has a board of director resume book or interested in board of director roles within organizations. And we've got some great new resources. Gabby, Christiana, and I have spent really the past few years building up our board of director resources for you to take advantage of. Others may be wanting to talk about in general how to advance their career, leverage the Wharton network better, and, in general, continue to learn and grow through the school. So we will cover all of those topics today and really show you, in addition to today's session that will, give you an overview of the resources, how you can stay engaged with us and sort of continue to explore that on a one-on-one coaching basis as well. And then again, prompt you to share questions, but we will certainly have an open question and answer period as well. I'm always asked, before we dig into resources, which I know is a hot topic, we have 25 staff members based in Philadelphia, West Coast, and other locations, and really half that team does a ton of corporate outreach. So they work with companies, they work with alumni working at those companies, executive search firms, really to pull what is some of the cutting edge, what's going on in the industry. And you can imagine with the impact of what's going on in the world, various nations and sort of changes that are happening, COVID and the impact there, I thought I'd spend a few minutes based on really what I hear in every advising session, that we have of like, what are we hearing? What's going on the streets? So, and some of it's not surprising as you're reading, seeing in the news, and I'm going to really try to give you a UK flavor to this a bit. We, are seeing impacted areas of travel and hospitality, right? As we know, brick and mortar retail, certain areas of real estate, especially those mixed use spaces or where there's corporation, although we're seeing, others like residential flourishing a bit more so. We definitely saw a slowdown of financial deals sort of April, May over the summer. There's been some rebound in that, and we'll talk about that in a minute, specifically in areas of distressed, as well, in some areas opportunistic private equity, but certainly feeling some of that. Some of the consulting-based work, even at the bulge brackets, but a lot of the boutiques or smaller consulting firms, folks weren't in offices doing some of that work. That has bounced back a little bit as of late, and we're going to see as the market and as sort of COVID and the vaccination sort of emerges, I think the next few weeks and months will be critical to sort of see some of that piece. Certainly small businesses, some of the calls I'm having that are more reactionary in nature, small companies that, have shut down. I mean, others have flourished, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, but certainly an impact on some entrepreneurial companies as well. In general, we tend to be, I think, in terms of our alumni base, a bit more having proactive alumni that are worried, feeling like there's restrictions or some things going on at their company, wanting to have proactive conversations about making a change versus pure layoffs of what we've seen during different other economic recessions. So that in general is a positive, but again, I think these next few weeks, into months will be critical to see if there's another round of, layoffs. I think companies versus whether it was the time frame where we saw Wall Street take a hit, and other economic recessions are being a bit smarter about the way they are handling this, more furloughs and salary reductions versus pure layoffs. But, there are some nuances according to industry. And in your advising sessions, as you have specific industry questions, we'll dig into that a bit further. And it's not all doom and gloom. I think we are seeing some bright spots in where tech has impacted a lot of industries, whether that be fintech, ed tech, right, big tech, even areas of social impact investing where that's continued. We talked about retail that tends to be online retail. Also, some companies like Amazon's doing well. Distress and debt as it relates to finance, pockets of some opportunistic work being done there. Private equity, we've talked about. In general, we're seeing regionally less London-based roles and looking to hire at the U.S. than we saw this time last year, and some of the Brexit impacts there, less direct investment banking. I think a lot of times we saw a lot of investment banking from London sort of emerge on campus on the student side, and also some job board postings. Generally speaking, seeing less of sort of that U.S.-based school focus, for obvious reasons. We are seeing some alum and talking to some of our London-based alum where roles are being relocated to other parts of Europe and navigating whether they want to stay in the area and some of that transition. And in general, I think across a lot of different industries in the UK, the impact of tech and folks needing to refresh if they're a marketing focus of what are the digital media and digital marketing, skill set that they need to refresh as time goes. And we can talk about lifelong learning. And if you're feeling like you could use refreshers in some of these areas and to freshen up some skill sets, definitely that happening. On campus, we thought we would see a bigger impact this year versus last year, the year before, in terms of, jobs being posted. And we're down a bit, but overall, we tend to be running steady on some of that. Certainly, opportunistic hiring, companies being more cautious there, but we'll talk through some of those pieces as well. The big theme I'm seeing is executive search playing less of a role, definitely opportunistic and company being more cautious about hiring, a ton of referral-based hiring. And we're going to talk about in the next few minutes as we go into the, ways you can continue to leverage the Wharton network and our alumni base, whether it be London or UK, or if you're looking to relocate to Paris, where we can really start to look at how much referral-based hiring versus job boards and LinkedIn and executive search, sort of leading the way on some of it, many looking to really get to know who's working at that company and having some of those referral-based hiring pieces. So with that said, Gabby, unless there's any sort of pressing questions, we'll get into a bit of the resources.
Yep, go for it.
Great. So one of the things as a Wharton alum that I find that's changed over the past several years is we've really made room so you can feel free every year to contact the school with your career questions. So many cases, we're going to do about 1,000 coaching sessions this year. So we went from sort of not having an alumni vertical to really working with a total of 10 coaches, including Gabrielle, to feel like we're offering. So for those of you on the call that say, look, I really want a true change, industry function, and I kind of want to, I think time does not always allow, in busy schedules and family and friend commitments, a lot of time for self-reflection. So you're able to talk to a coach of, what do I want to do next? What do I want to be? So we offer career assessment. Our leading assessment is Career Leader, and it tends to get the most positive feedback versus Strong or Myers-Briggs type indicator or Strengths Finder. So we've really stuck with Career Leader, and we can help you with that assessment and looking forward to those results. Many of you may need us, you want your CV or resume looked at. A lot of folks pay a lot of attention to their CV and resume, but really need an overhaul on LinkedIn, on some of the social media platforms. We can do that for you. Or, you have a cover letter or, something you're looking to submit and need another pair of eyes. So we are open to doing all of that. We can do that virtually. We can do that through a coaching session. It's always good to get an indication of where your targets are. So I find sometimes a coaching session of kind of on the spot review tends to be what folks prefer, but that is always an option. You may have not interviewed in a while and have an interview coming up, right? And we can do very niche related interviews. So we can do, as coaches, a mock interview with you. You may say, look, I have a private equity interview, mid-cap company, and want to go through some questions. Maybe a while, you may be looking at consulting or areas of marketing where a case may be in play and just really want to talk through that. So that's always an option with our career coaches. Job search strategy, why aren't the executive search and some of my job board, momentum not working? And, we can talk about what we're seeing with referral-based hiring and how to really leverage the network better and really help you have a strategy that works for you. We're really proud with Wharton. We've looked at offer negotiation. We tend to really love those conversations when you're in the midst of it, being offered. We have Wharton specific, so many top schools have student data when students graduate, but not alumni. I want to know the going rate in real estate at the VP level in London. I want to know, I'm in finance, financial services at, this type of company, and what does somebody who's partner make? And we all have all that data for you. So we don't publicly publish that, but feel free to ping us or schedule an appointment. We can talk about sort of furthering your offer or your year-over-year negotiations that you have on that front. Lately, and in addition with coaches, we don't want it to be just about job search focused. I'm in the immediate job search and we can support you. If you're having trouble in the workplace or managing up, or you're just starting to lead a new larger team for the first time, feeling like you can go to the coaches with some of those questions and that we can support there. Career progression, I'm feeling stuck. I'm looking at a board opportunity. I want to flex another muscle. I want to leverage and connect more with folks in the area. We can talk about all those career progression issues. And last but not least, you get the 2 complimentary sessions through the school. And again, if you need a third or a fourth, we don't, micromanage that number. But if you said, look, and I'm relaunching my career after, an abundant time away, and I would love a career coach to work with daily, we have referral career coaches. So that's a paid out of pocket versus the complimentary career coaching we offer. But for some, having a referral list of folks they can work with on an ongoing basis for different reasons is important. And we do have that list of partnerships that we have as well. Good. In addition to what you've heard about advising and taken some time, we have a dedicated resource some of you might be familiar with called Career Path. It's the home of the Student and the Alumni Job Board at Wharton. It is something we continuing to work with employers, not only to post entry-level student-related roles, but we work with Career Path and our vendor 1220 to do job board feeds into comb for mid-career and executive level roles. So if you logged on 5 years ago and it was feeling a bit junior, there weren't enough international roles, UK-based roles, Europe-based roles, we've changed that, and we have some new feeds coming in that really comb for appropriate alumni-related roles. So if it's been a while, check it out. You can sign up for a job email alert, meaning having the jobs pushed out to you, which I highly recommend. Gabrielle can help you with that. And I find that in a busy time to have the jobs pushed out to you, you can create regional specific, industry specific job board feeds. And it's a really nice, no reason, even if you're not actively looking, to start to see what jobs are coming in through the school. I think you'll be impressed. We talked about offering alumni compensation data. We're going to be running, we did the last survey we did was in 2018, so still fairly relevant data, but we're going to push that out hopefully again this spring. So look for that, complete that, give us some of the compensation information. We had 9,000 alumni participate, and we're really looking to top that number. We've had hundreds and hundreds of alum use that data, so we think it'll be successful. And Gabrielle was able to provide the direct link of how you're able to access that using, you need your Penn key authentication, you need to be a Wharton alum to access either of the undergraduate program or the MBA program to access Career Path. In addition to coaching, job boards, there's a lot of on-demand programs. I'm going to talk through a few of those. I think in our virtual world of, wanting to see if there's, the 2-hour job search, and there's some great programs that I'm going to go over that you can watch at your leisure and feel like you can learn and, get some information through that side. We negotiated a few years ago. Many of you might remember Lippincott Library being on campus, but we've negotiated with Lippincott for many years. There weren't a lot of alumni offerings. You'd physically need to come to campus to take advantage. And a lot of times, many of the major databases will now not allow alumni access. They want you to kind of get that access through your organizations. We have a nonprofit sort of discounted rate, but we were able, along with Lippincott, to negotiate some new databases that allow you, when you're researching firms, to have access to Dun & Bradstreet. Business Source Alumni Edition is the name of the collection of resources, including some business cases. So check that out. You'll see on our website, which I'm going to show you in a moment, to feel like you have some research options through the school, and we're continuing to try to negotiate for more. So I think you'll be surprised and pleasantly surprised on that end as well. I know in the UK, executive search, especially in certain industries like private equity, areas of finance, plays a, more of a significant role than maybe if you're looking in a startup or an entrepreneurial space. So we've curated a list of go-to resources in terms of executive search, the majors, bulge bracket, but some of the boutiques that are local to you as well. So we have a dedicated page where we've curated some of that information. A lot of the majors, we have Wharton alum that work there, and some of the boutiques as well. So we're able to kind of help you with not only who are the players, but sometimes contacts, if you look in some of the databases for that. Going global, you may be thinking of relocating, different region, different country, and we find that's a great one-stop shop if you're going to move and looking to get familiar with a region. We purchase subscriptions to that, so alumni can leverage that for free. And then we talked about interview stream. Again, brushing up on the interview skill set. We've uploaded 141, not entry level, but alumni based questions into interview stream. So if you find, look at, I know some of you mentioned media and entertainment as an area of focus, and I want to brush up on an interview. There's an actor that comes on the screen. It's a virtual mock interview. It records you. It's a very humbling experience, but that you can watch it back with a coach and really improve. And lately with the frame and virtual, and am I being too verbose? And you can really, get some great information from an interview standpoint. Good. Gabby, I'll pause for a moment. Are we okay in terms of questions? And then for those of you I know who joined the call a little bit late, feel free, if you have questions, to type those into the chat function. Gabrielle's running point on that. How are we good with questions so far?
Yeah, we're all set.
Okay, perfect. So here's a screenshot. I think what we try to do on the alumni website, there's over 70 resources here, is you'll see big radio buttons. So if you come from this session, you see the URL on the bottom, and you want to schedule an advising session, you see right up at the top of the screen, you click and you get access to my calendar, Gabrielle, Christiana, and we have 2 external coaches that support some of that as well. There is a link to Cara mentioned about the jobs. I want to start having the jobs through Wharton sent to me. You see the job board circled above. Personalized career resources, and we're going to go through those in a minute. Whether you're an entrepreneur and you think, well, can Wharton really help me? Or I'm an executive alum, and what do they have for me? We've got some great personalized individual resources as well. If you think, and many of us do as the job search in a linear way, career assessment, then I need to work on my marketing materials, then I need to do some company research. We have a tab, as you can see on the left navigation bar, that goes through that one by one, from starting with career assessment to negotiating the offer to onboarding. We've got some great tools, and that could be a help for you as well. So give you a screenshot of that. And again, through your Wharton Penn key, you're able to log in to access those services. If you don't feel like you know this Penn key going into the call, you'll click on the help function, and External Affairs will help you sort of get that set up so you can leverage all of this. Mention job search strategy pages. So I think our goal, once we got up and running, offering an array of resources, was we want to make sure entrepreneurs feel like they can come and have a conversation, right? Whether they're starting their own business, joining a startup. You don't always think of your, MBA college office, being able to support that way. But what we like to do on those pages is give you, what are the 5 best things at Wharton if you're an entrepreneur? And you can see executive level career. We've created a page for Wharton women. There's some great programs going on, women's circles, and really specific that help women in the workplace. For those who are career relaunching, it feels like you're starting from scratch, maybe after some time away. Maybe you're struggling with your search. You've been out for a year, or more, and really, how do we help you sort of relaunch? We've seen a growing interest in social impact careers and folks wanting whether career or volunteerism or board of directors, and really kind of tackling that subject, or what are the best things at Wharton. We have a lot of research centers and places for you to plug in, but we know it sometimes can be overwhelming amount of information, so we try to curate for you that for you a bit more so. And lastly, like I said, international opportunities, and really what can we leverage at Wharton, our alumni databases, people in the region, the alumni clubs, and really curating some of that content as well. And the direct URL is there as well. Good. Which leads us, we mentioned on-demand content, right? I feel like on-demand and virtual are the keywords of the hour, but we have a lot of, we source through, it's called Beyond B School, many of our top school counterparts, where we've really curated, there's a lot of professional, very short, bite-sized videos. So whether or not, there's the 2-hour job search, that's a very popular sort of video where you can kind of go and really, how do you get yourself up and running in sort of 2 hours, and being able to, have an effective job search. I know a lot of people have LinkedIn, like, how do I map my resume to LinkedIn, my LinkedIn and social media presence? Some use it, some of our recent grads a lot and overuse it, and others are like, I really don't have a presence and need to beef up. So there's a lot of videos related to LinkedIn that can kind of help you get to the next level there. And executive search primers, and a lot of like materials refresh, where there's a lot of templates and some curated information. So if you have time, take a look, and I think there's definitely some topics you're going to find really interesting there. few years ago, we were hearing more and more in one-on-one advising sessions, the interest in serving on boards, right? So whether that's nonprofit, for-profit, startup boards, Fortune 500 corporate boards. So Wharton decided to leverage, we have 2 resume books, an alumni resume book, where if you're actively seeking, you can put your resume in there and employers search that information, in addition to posting jobs on the job board. But we also leveraged our book, the alumni book, into a board of director book. So if you find, I'd love to learn about, board opportunities through Wharton, we have a page, you're seeing it in front of you, dedicated to getting up and, what should I think of if this is a first-time board seat for me? What are some of the commitment things that I should consider? If I'm a recent grad, which I know we have a few folks who are earlier career on the call, what can I expect? Do I really need to think about a nonprofit board first, or maybe a startup board, likely unpaid, and then advance to other areas? So there's really great, we've done doing a ton of due diligence of what are external organizations in the board space, a lot of women on boards, there's private boards, and we've really taken National Association of Corporate Directors, definitely some London and UK based organizations. So we started to build out a chart, getting some verbatims for alum of what they think is the big value add from joining membership of that organization. So check it out. It's something we can talk about in your coaching session as well. And if you're interested, Wharton has a dedicated book. You fill out a profile, what type of board seat you're interested in, your skill set, P&L responsibility, have you served in a C-level role, and you'll submit. We had the head of Spencer Stewart's board practice, who's a Wharton alumna, help us create a CV template to help us get that in order. So you'll see our board page is very extensive. Boards are very referral based, so you'll meet with Christiana, Gabrielle, and we'll talk through a bit of best practices in getting on the board, especially that first board role, which tends to be the hardest. So we know many of you on the call are interested. Many of you on the call might have not thought about board when you were joining this, but it tends to be something. We have about, Gabby, about 1,200 alumni in the board book at the moment. We only launched a few years ago, and that number tends to grow monthly pretty rapidly. We do board searches about one a week comes in through our alumni base, through our employer base, where we actively market that. So feel free to submit there as well. And that does include nonprofit as well as for-profit. Great. I think in these sessions as well, ways you can engage with the school, right? There's times, I think, especially in this economic market, we're really rallying our alumni base to hire through Wharton, whether you need an intern full-time, whether you have executive level needs in your organization, and now if you have board needs, to really feel free. We try to make, I think Wharton prides itself, I think even beyond other business schools, is you can send us the role, we'll post it for you. If you feel like you don't have the time to do that, you can post at the MBA level, and then my counterpart on the undergraduate side, if there's roles there, whether they be Penn-based or Wharton-based, that is an option. We ran a program starting this past spring as sort of COVID hit and with some of the economic ups and downs, called Alumni Supporting Careers. So we ask alumni to give in 2 ways. One, if you know of an open position, right, for you to forward that to us, whether it's your organization forwarding leads. But others may say, look, I don't know of an open role right now, but I'm willing to give my time to a student. So we have a platform called Wharton Alumni Career Chats, and you can offer to give your time. And it could be, I want to do one a month or one, it can be limited, it can be more advanced, but you can curate some of that. And it's an online platform to help you navigate that. So Gabby, if you don't mind, if you didn't already, to maybe put that URL in the chat function, and if that's something you want to help out with, we would love that. In addition to that, you can interact with Wharton's social media page. There's a lot of programs. We talked about Wharton Alumni Career Chats, which is a student to alumni connection platform, and sort of some direct links to go straight there. But other ways to engage with the school, many of you, we talked about brushing up on skill sets and, missing hearing those faculty, on campus and wanting to know, lifelong learning at Wharton, Googling that. There's a lot of great ways you can catch a, noontime session. You can look on demand and see the library of cutting edge faculty and really brush up on a skill set that way as well. There's information. We've kind of
question.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Sorry, this one's from Margot. She's asking if we could comment further on the trend of referral-based hiring versus searches. Why do you think this is the case, and how do you suggest people take advantage of that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. It's perfect segue as we think about engaging through Wharton. We have two primary databases. So, Margot, it's a great point. We talked a little bit about referral-based hiring. And a lot of times during our coaching session, as we navigate what industries, what functions, regions, your appetite to move and where you want to move, we will talk about how do you leverage the Wharton network. And technically, there's really two major ways I suggest folks do that. And you'll see it. It's right on our website. One is you might, based on when you graduated, refer to it as Wharton Connect or the Alumni Database. There's been different names, but now it's called My Penn, and it's a comprehensive database. You might have noticed it sort of recently relaunched, where you can search, I want to see London-based alumni in private equity that graduated from this year to that year, or that are at a partner level. And you can find through My Penn the alumni email addresses of those that work in that industry area. So that would be one area. There's a lot of curated ways as you're brainstorming what companies to target. Some of you might need a little bit of help and support there. Others are like, look, I've got my top 20 list of healthy or stable companies, and I want to go after alumni there. And My Penn, and maybe Gabby, if you don't mind chatting that link in the chat function of My Penn, that is a great way to do that. As we all know, school databases aren't always on top of mind of like update, people get promotions and offers and jobs change. We also highly recommend you join the Wharton Alumni LinkedIn group. And same thing, I'll have Gabby chat that out as well. And there's a lot of you get approved through external affairs into that private group. Many people, I'm amazed when I'm on the phone with them, they're a part of the school group, but not the Wharton Alumni group. And you can do searches as well to just make sure contact information is up to date, search by company name, region, and it's those two databases would be the primary way. And we'll talk to you. I think it's a lot, given referral-based hiring, how to virtually get in front of folks, especially during this time without sounding tone deaf of what's happening in the marketplace. We'll coach you on some of those pieces if it feels like getting through that. But we have templates of reaching out to an alum who you've not met for the first time. But, we can certainly help you navigate who are more involved alum, and those databases are great ways to sort of see that piece. So hopefully, Margot, I answer that question. And towards the end, as we have more questions on that front, that's a great one. And really, it's a segue into ways to engage through the school. Research centers, whether you're interested in healthcare areas of private equity, not only clubs and research centers are a great way. A lot of them have their own career news bulletin. There's social impact, there's healthcare, a lot of centers at Wharton. And we will remind you of lifelong learning opportunities, ways to start to get those newsletters to stay on the cutting edge of who the school's working with company-wise. What are the trends in the industry, especially those that I know that are a part of this call that really want to do a complete career change. We can really get you immersed into some of those pieces as well. And as we sort of wrap up, and I want folks to think of questions, we'll take questions in just a moment, remind you that you have 2 complimentary sessions through the school. This is the team, sort of some of the faces that you've seen today and a few that aren't on the call of coaches. We have great bios you can see. Some are more focused in areas of finance or banking, private equity, real estate, all of what I'm seeing you folks are interested in. And you can feel free to sign up for we try to really create, we have 2 sessions happening today, but we really try to make sure there's next week available, if not the week of, the following week, so it can be pretty timely. And we really encourage you to take advantage of that session as well. And with that, that's sort of the end of the formal presentation, hopefully a little taste for everyone, but would love to open the floor. You're welcome to unmute and ask any questions that you have. And just as a reminder for folks, we might lose a copy of this PowerPoint presentation. We mentioned at the beginning, this was recorded, as well as the one-pager. The club leaders will send you post the session. So if you entered late or want to refer back to the URL for our job boards or coaching, all of that can be provided post the session by your club leaders as well. So with that, I'm going to open up to questions. And Gabby, Christiana, and I are all here, so feel free to direct to any of us.
Hi there, this is Richard. Firstly, thank you so much for all the great information. Perhaps a question specific to private equity, which is going to be my target industry for next career move. What do you find is maybe the the best way when you're sort of not a 23, 25-year-old with banking analytical experience to really position yourself for a new industry, which is maybe not at the senior executive level, but kind of in the mid area, perhaps even as a slightly more junior role. Like, do you find alumni having success in making those transitions, or is is work really cut out for them?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Yeah, private equity is a tough one in the sense there's, I'd say more so than other industries of folks on the phone, there's a little more rigidity with wanting that, seeing that bulge bracket investment banking or past private equity experience, right? So I think there's definitely that piece. Now, where we've seen alum, and I think, the years of experience or the youth piece of it depends on the company. But I think more importantly, them wanting to see this cookie cutter experience, like, what you're explaining is true. I think where folks have been able to navigate that without that has been, I think some of it is understanding, is there a niche? Do I have industry experience? And is that, firm focused on like tech and they're focused on tech? Who are the partners? What do I bring to the table? Do I have certain international exposure and they're looking to do more investment in that space? So it becomes a bit about doing due diligence on the focus of the company, trying to align that to the other experience you have and be smart on that front. It is very referral based as well. And so us leveraging and getting you talking to the Wharton alum and somebody who may just want to add, having advocates in addition to that work experience and matching that tend to be the two pieces we see most often. And we've got we have a research tool section, and this is applicable for everybody on the call, where we try to curate, if you're interested in private equity, not what are the 20 resources, but what are the blogs, what are the, really curate what should you subscribe to stay on the cutting edge of trends. Because if you don't have experience in that area, and any of you on the call that are looking to make a career change, you want to talk like the trends, the investment, the marketplace, and we do have resources to help feel like we're getting you up to speed there. So my advice for you, it's, private equity is definitely a tough nut to crack a bit, but get on the phone with the advisor and we'll talk you through how to start to have those conversations to see what's realistic and where you might need to, do I need investment management? Do I need to try to get some finance experience first? And there might be a stepping stone involved there as well. Does that help?
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's super. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Richard. Who else?
Cara, Margot has another question here about the best way to access resources to improve one's LinkedIn profile.
Yes, common question. I think that's why, with some of the resources we have, some online pieces. So I would say there's like 3 options for that. One is that on our on-demand video program page, we have specific LinkedIn, and it can be everything. I have some alum who say, I just want to set up my privacy settings, get up and running. Others that are like, look, at strategically, I have 2 areas of focus, and how do I have that come across on my LinkedIn profile? So I would suggest the on-demand video library that was referenced, and we can get you that information as well. We also do reviews, so you may say, look, I took a shot, not liking the way my summary looks. Look, I've been promoted for these skill sets, but I'm looking to make a career change. So we can give you tactical advice in the coaching session or virtual advice of how, this needs more brevity, we need more detail there, and we're really well versed on LinkedIn. So I would say the videos, we have a dedicated resume and LinkedIn page where there's some templates, and then the career coaching that we do, we can go over that and kind of fine tune that with you.
Thanks, Cara. I added those links in the chat as well.
Right.
Philia had another question relating to board roles. So especially if you're a first time, you're wanting to join a board, what's the best way to prepare your career path towards achieving that, and other strategies you'd recommend to search for these type of opportunities?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we all know, and any of us who, and I know there's folks on the call that have, been on boards, not all board opportunities are created equal, and I think usually we, in our coaching session, will really try to get a sense of what are you looking for from a board experience. Some folks we talked to, I had one call right before this session, they really want to flex another muscle. They don't want anything near what their day job, they would just want to do something different. Maybe it's, I don't get enough social impact or meaningful work and I want to do something more along those lines. boards. Others say, look, at my wheelhouse is helping companies grow or transform, or, financial areas of fiduciary. And so we really dig in. What are the roles on boards? What is it that you want to accomplish, and feeling like we have a sense of your focus. First-time boards are very hard to get into. And I think being realistic of what is a reasonable first time, I kind of referenced, is it a nonprofit? Is it a more startup or entrepreneurial board? I usually try to set expectation that if you're early career and you're trying to get on your first board, sort of mentally be prepared that that could be sort of an unpaid role, right? Or you might even, if it's a nonprofit, there's a bit of this, you're going to agree to help them fundraise or do a piece to that. So I think there's that, realistic view. I try to, just like a job search, what are the 12 companies you're really interested in, and trying to get you in front of other board members. Because the first thing that happens when someone rolls off a board is the board has that internal communication, like, who do we know? And so there's a ton of, in addition to the Wharton doing searches weekly, it's a ton of referral-based hiring. So the more we can align your goals, cherry pick the types of companies you would want to serve that feel realistic, and help you get in touch with senior leadership or other board members from that organization, that begins the conversation. So yeah, and we have, when it comes to compensation, or folks that are in mid-career or looking, I'm on a board right now, but want to kind of go to the next level of, size of company. We have those discussions as well of how do you get in some of the inner loops, because it's so referral based. But we find, to the earlier point, the looking at our alumni databases are super important in that respect. Other questions? Okay. Seeing a couple come in.
Looks like one just came in from Nicole. For a complete career change, industry and country, what would you recommend to be the best strategy to start?
Yes. So, and Gabby, you just phased out towards the end. Repeat that one more time.
Sorry, yeah, just she's wondering strategies when you're trying to do a complete career pivot, both industry and region.
Yes. So what we try to do is take a real specific view of, how do we leverage your past experience and sort of cross-market that into the industry? I think there's times where there's more of an alliance and you're able to, have that conversation. There's other times where, as it's a complete career change, again, feeling like you're well-versed, you're understanding issues. You have stories from your past where, you've solved problems. Maybe it was in, the healthcare industry, but now you're looking at tech. And I think we also really want to get you in front of folks that are living that, to make sure that what you think you want to do in reality, what keeps them awake at night. What are the issues going on in that industry? And you fully feeling like committed to that. And then also, depending on what industry, and we talked about it even with private equity, is there a stepping stone needed? Could you make that transition and go there? I find sometimes if someone in an economic market that we're facing, across different industries, sometimes major career changes are less doable than a stepping stone. Or yes, we can change industry. You might want to change function too, but like, we need to keep you in that same function. Let's get in the company and then change there. So we try to use all of our industry-based knowledge to give you the tactical steps to say, okay, here's what's realistic. Here's the alumni you need to meet with. HR on paper isn't going to find, a lot of, HR is looking for round peg in round hole. So we might need to really leverage our alumni base to advocate for you and what feels doable. So it's a very common question. I think Christiana will know, the coaches and I, deal with, and we will, based on your industry, your location, your region, like all the changes you want to make, tell you, where do we want to bend and what's doable, where you're going to need to be flexible and where we can put you forward. It's a great question. Good. Sounds like that may be the end of the formal questions. So as mentioned, copy of the PowerPoint includes my contact information, links to advising is there. Feel like the UK crowd is always a great one. I'm missing visiting London, and you're a great city, but I'm thankful to your amazing alumni club leaders, Doug, Margot, and the group for really putting this together today. And don't hesitate to be in touch. If there's a few undergraduate alums on the call as well, you can access all these resources with your authentication. Your advisors are just different. We break undergrad and MBA up into two separate groups. So you'll have access to all the resources you heard about today. You'll just see a different advisor. So I know a few of you on the call may be focused in that respect as well. But thank you so much for having me. I'm going to pass back to the club to sort of exit us out. And if any last minute questions come in, we'll try to give us your email address and we can kind of tackle that one off as well.
Great. Thanks, Cara. So as Cara said, we will be sending out to everybody who registered, not just those who attended, but everybody who registered, presentation and the one-pager, and the recording will be on the Penn Club YouTube channel. And then one last thing that, because there's so much good information that Gabby posted in the chat, if you want to download the chat, there is a way to do it. If you see in the chat next to where you type your message in, there's 3 dots, and that if you press that, you can download this chat, and so you won't lose all of these. I'm sure they're available elsewhere, but given that they're all right here in this one place, if you wanted to do that, please feel free to do so. So thank you very much, Cara, Gabrielle, and Christiana, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you so much. Very appreciated.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, guys. Take care.
Thank you so much. That was really helpful. Thank you, Cara. Thank you, Gabrielle.
Thank you, Carl.
Bye. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, the Wharton team.
Thank you.
All the best. Keep safe.
You too.
Thanks, everybody.
I just have to end this thing.